What's up guys, Mr. SLIN here with another video about Team Fortress 2, and today I'm making a video about sniper secondary weapons, the best and the worst, and which one I think that you should choose given the current game and the current meta. Quick note, I know this is not the most original video made on YouTube. I've watched a lot of other videos that have addressed these topics of best and worst weapons, and I really don't feel like there is someone out there who's making videos with like a high level game knowledge that's coming at it and telling everyone else what the best, rank A, B, C for tier lists of weapons. So I really do hope that this video is helpful for you guys. I can't vouch for the validity of the other YouTubers and what they're making with their tier lists, but I can vouch for the validity of mine. I do feel like this tier list is very well tested at both a high level and a low level, and I do feel like this should help you guys out if you follow this guide. Now, couple notes here. I got to make a couple assumptions. One, I'm going to assume that you know how to use your primary weapon at a pretty decent level, meaning you don't really need to rely on your secondary for self-protection. That's going to help out a lot here. So you got to be able to hit some shots there with a sniper rifle. If you can't hit your shots, you probably shouldn't be playing sniper in the first place. Second thing I'm going to assume is that you're playing with players that maybe aren't the best players, but also not the worst players. Something in between, something average, something one size fits all. It's really context specific when you choose a secondary weapon for snipers. So if you're playing with people that are really, really good at the game, that are protecting you from spies all the time, that are really well coordinated, all over voice chat, talking to each other, that's going to give you like a different kind of weapon choice than if you're just by yourself, lone wolf in a casual server playing on your own. But I'm going to try and recommend you guys that are weapons that are generally good speaking just across the board. That way you guys can make the right choice for your own game. So with all that said, let's hop into the video and let's go right into the tier list. All right, this tier list is dated April 2nd, 2017. So if Valve were to come out with that Pyro update tomorrow and completely nerf everything, this list could change. But I'm gonna show you guys the list of notes from the wiki so you can see exactly what the stats are for each of these secondary weapons, so that you feel like you can make the right decision. Even if a patch comes out later on changing some of these stats, you can still make the right decision for you. All right, so let's take a look at this tier list. In tier A, standing alone by itself is the Darwin's Danger Shield. In tier B, I have the Self-Aware Beauty Mark, the Girardi, the Razorback, and the Cozy Camper. And in tier C, the Submachine Gun and the Cleaner's Carbine. And now the way that you read this tier list is from top to bottom, left to right, with each tier being significantly better than the previous tier. So tier A is much better than tier B. Tier B is much better than tier C. And the items on the left side of the screen are better than the items on the right side of the screen. Now, clearly, when you look at this list, the Darwin's Danger Shield is ahead by leaps and bounds in tier A, standing there all by its own. And the reason why it's so good is because it gives you bonus health, which not only affects your base health, but also affects your buffed health. So instead of getting a buff at 185, you're going to get a buff at 225. So if you're able to pair yourself up with a medic and counter snipe the other sniper, you're going to be ahead in your health. Not only are you ahead in health, but you're also ahead in bullet damage resistance. I can't even believe that Valve gave the Darwin's Danger Shield bullet damage resistance. It's like a 2-in-1. You're getting more health, more bullet damage, and if you're standing in the right positions, all you're really worried about are snipers and spies. So this is a great item to counter both of those classes while giving you a negative of explosion damage vulnerability. So it means that you really only have to worry about you're really mostly worried about spamming rockets from soldiers, or maybe spamming pipes or spam stickies. If you're positioning yourself in the right positions, you really don't need to worry much about those projectiles. I mean, you might have to worry about a couple other random projectiles coming through, but it's really not a big deal. If those guys are up in your face with those projectiles, you're probably dead anyway. So the best thing to do as a sniper is to stand in the proper position, hopefully paired up with a medic, hopefully far removed from the front lines. And if you guys need help with your positioning, watch the footage right here, because I'm using the Darwin's Danger Shield. You guys can get an idea of where you should be standing, what you should be doing when you're using this item. The second tier is actually pretty even, so I think if Valve were to wisen up with the next patch and nerf the Darwin's Danger Shield as they should, then it would bring it hopefully in line with the other items here in tier B. But let's skip tier B for a second and look at tier C. The submachine gun and the cleaner's carbine I put there at the bottom, meaning like you really should never use these items. And the reason why I feel that way is because if you're playing sniper properly, if you're a good sniper, you should be using your primary weapon most of the time. And the sniper rifle is actually very powerful at both long range and close range. At long range, you can be hitting headshots, dominating people, and these two secondary items are not really going to help you out very much. You're not going to be gunning people down from long range with a submachine gun. At close range, it could be used as a finishing item. So let's say you hit a 100 damage body shot on somebody and you need to finish them off really quickly. But actually, the sniper rifle is actually a very good finisher as well. If you just go for body shots, or if you can scope in and hit a good headshot as a skilled player, that's going to be very helpful for you as well. So I don't feel like you need to have a secondary gun. It's usually better to just position yourself properly, put another teammate in between you and the enemy, or at least try and run away as best you can there using the help that you got from the Darwin's Danger Shield. I also put the cleaner's carbine at the back, like the very worst item you can use as your sniper secondary, because I do feel like while it's cool to have that crikey meter that can charge up and give you mini crits, it's really unreliable despite giving you that burst damage you think you need it every once in a while. I mean, I can see how the design of the gun is like, oh, you're in trouble, pull this thing out and suddenly start mini critting someone to defend yourself, but it's really not going to be used that way. Having smaller clip size and slower firing speed is going to make it an inferior secondary defense weapon to the submachine gun. So either way, you shouldn't be using any of these things. Let's look at tier B, where I have the Girardi, the Razorback, and the Cozy Camper. I actually went the extra mile and listed the self-aware beauty mark ahead of the Girardi because it's a little known fact that the self-aware beauty mark is actually slightly better than the Girardi. Take a look at this video here from SigSevV, where he shows the Girardi's throwing distance of different items. You got the self-aware beauty mark, the festive Girardi, and the Girardi. The Girardi throws at the same distance, but the self-aware beauty mark throws actually 7% farther than the standard Girardi. So it's actually better to use that if you happen to have that item. The reason I put the Girardi at the beginning of the list is actually because it's a really awesome team item that also helps you defend against spies. When you happen to be near a choke point, if you just want to dominate that choke point, you can throw the Girardi in there and really soften up your opponents and make your life a lot easier when breaking chokes, which is a lot of the time that you're spending on sniper is breaking chokes, trying to get picks. So the Girardi is actually a great team item. Also, the little nice bonus there is that you can throw it at a spy if you're in trouble, light him up for your teammates to kill him down. So it's a great team weapon. The Razorback is a better solo weapon in my opinion. So when I'm playing in a casual server by myself and I don't think that there's going to be anyone there to follow up on my Girardi damage, then I'm more inclined to choose the Razorback. Even though it nullifies only a single backstab in its current state, that's oftentimes enough for me to just be happy with using that item. A single backstab forces spies to instead have to shoot me down instead of having to stab me down. And if I get hit that first time, a lot of times I'm going to be able to stay alive. But that said, a good spy is going to wait for you to scope up before he starts wailing on you. And if he's using the Ambassador, you're pretty screwed anyways. So I do think the Razorback has its weaknesses, but overall, I think the Razorback's a good item for to use, and it shows. In Highlander, at the top levels of the game, people still feel like the Razorback counters Spy a little bit too hard. They still have that weapon banned, and I do feel like it's good for solo gameplay. At the back of tier B, I have the Cozy Camper, which prevents flinching when aiming and your primary weapon is fully charged. It also reduces your knockback by 20% and gives you some extra regen. It's kind of a nice item to have as a passive bonus if you have nothing else that you want to use or you're just looking for a little bit of fun. I do feel like it's a decent middle ground between preventing yourself from getting killed by spies and having that team play from the Girardi. If you again, don't think people are going to follow up on your Girardi. If you don't think you're going to get stabbed by spies because you have a pyro on you or some teammates protecting you, then maybe the Cozy Camper is a nice alternative where you don't necessarily need to have that medic tanking on you all the time. Instead, I mean, it's nice to have a medic tanking on you all the time, but instead you can kind of just roam off by yourself, get some passive health regen, and you can just kind of like sit on a flank doing damage. I kind of like that idea with the Cozy Camper. Also, when you're shooting down a choke point by yourself, when people are trying to spam at you and get you to miss your shot, it's actually kind of a nice weapon for that as well. But it's really just a selfish item. it doesn't really give a lot of benefit to your teammates. So I do prefer the Durati as number one. And for the Razorback, it's actually kind of a team weapon as well, surprisingly, because when you're using that Razorback, you don't need to have teammates that are sitting on your butt all the time protecting you from spies. As long as you have teammates that are in your general vicinity, that will be enough of a deterrent for spies, generally speaking. So using the Razorback can actually help your teammates and free them up to do other things. Now, the reason I put so much emphasis on the team as a sniper is because a sniper at the highest levels of the game is actually one of the strongest classes. And it's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people like playing sniper so much. You're removed from the front lines, you're hitting shots, you're destroying the enemy, and you're really not under a lot of threat yourself. But with that power comes a lot of responsibility. You don't want to have too many snipers on your team. So you're typically going to have one, maybe two snipers on a fully loaded a fully loaded 12s team, I guess, if you're in a pub server. So you gotta, if you're going to choose sniper, you better be hitting those shots. And I do feel like you want those snipers that you have on your team to do really well. You want those snipers to create those picks and make space for you. So you're going to want to protect those snipers like they're gold. And it's nice to have other weapons that sort of help your teammates to protect you or just help you protect yourself. And that's why I love the Darwin's Danger Shield so much, because it gives that sniper just so much benefit. It really frees up that sniper to get a little bit more aggressive than he usually would, and makes it so you don't have to protect that sniper as hard. And having the Durati, having like other items there that help out your teammates when creating space, when creating those picks, really, really solid. But with that said, I really do feel that Valve needs to nerf the Darwin's Danger Shield. I think having bonus health and bullet resistance is just a little bit too much. They can remove one of those bonuses or nerf either of those bonuses, but it's really hard to craft that weapon in such a way that keeps it in line with how it was originally created, which is supposed to be just a flat bonus to the sniper. So yeah, it's going to be hard for them to balance that one, but I think they can do it just fine. Overall, you can see from my tier list that I prefer secondary weapons that are not active. So if Valve were to develop secondary items in the future that were active, that you actually need to use them, such as the SMG, where you actually need to spend a decent amount of time using that gun, I really don't prefer those. I prefer passive bonuses because the primary weapon on sniper is just so strong. There's no reloading. You get 25 shots. It's just really, really solid item. You're not going to want to choose secondaries that are very active. The Durati is the one exception to that rule because it provides so much benefit to your team. But the other thing I need to think about as well is that it has a 20-second recharge. So you're not going to be using it all the time. It's kind of that one thing you just pull it out, throw it, and then you're back on your primary weapon once again. So with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.